Many a hand has scaled the grand old face of the plateau. Some belong to strangers and some to folks you know.
Alright, hello there, thrill seekers, and it's me with Ziggy and FICO, who you've met before if you've been watching this channel. FICO is my sister-in-law's dog, and he's named FICO because my sister-in-law is a real estate agent, and so is her husband. And they thought FICO, which is a real estate, it's some kind of financial thing that real estate people do, and it sounds a little bit like Fido, and that's the joke of the name. It's a very strange dog name. All right, what you just saw was a little clip of the video I did for the song Plateau by the Meat Puppets. And I want to talk about that today and why I did that song and its significance to me. And its significance to maybe something a little bit about Zen practice. I should apologize, though, because I'm getting over a cold. It sort of made itself known on Saturday, and now it's Thursday, and I'm feeling mostly better. But I can feel. I don't know if my voice sounds weird to you. It sounds weird to me. So. Meat Puppets. Let me talk to you about the Meat Puppets' significance in my life. I first encountered the Meat Puppets on, oh gosh, let me make sure I get this right, because I wouldn't get this right. November 19th, probably 1982, possibly 1983, but I think it was 1982, when my band, the band I'm in, the band I play bass in, Zero Defects, opened for the Meat Puppets on what I think was their first American tour. Here's a few of the flyers that were produced for that event. I don't know of any photos. I've never seen any photos that anybody took that night. Probably there's some somewhere, but I've never seen them. But the Meat Puppets were like a big deal for me, because Zero Defects at that point had gotten to the stature where we were the sort of opening band for all of the big hardcore punk acts that came through Akron. So we were big fish in a small pond, basically. So whatever sort of known hardcore punk bands came through Akron, Zero Defects almost always got the opening slot. We did with the Misfits and DRI and Meat Puppets. And I had never heard of the Meat Puppets before they said we were going to play with them. So, and I never listened to their records before we actually did the show. And I was really amazed because they show up and they've got long hair, and I was the only person I had ever encountered with long hair in the hardcore punk scene. And here are these three guys with long hair. And they did this show, and the music was really incredible. It was not... It fit into the hardcore punk genre just barely, because it was very fast and very loud. But I remember particularly at one point in the night they covered the song Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf. And I'm like, oh my god, they just did Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf at a hardcore punk show. That's a move that I'm impressed by. So I went out and maybe I bought their first album from them. I don't remember if I bought it from them or from a record store, but I really dug it. And I guess a year or so later, I was in a record store in Cleveland. I'm pretty sure it was Record Revolution. And I saw this album there, Meat Puppets 2. I'm like, oh, the Meat Puppets have a new album. And I just bought it without listening to it or hearing a review of it or even knowing that it existed, because I'm like, oh, I like these guys, I'll buy their record. And this is like a time when it was financially difficult for me to just buy any old record I wanted. And I just took it home, and the first hearing of it, I just fell in love with the album, especially that song Plateau. Like, that was a big song for me. And that record is, to this day, the only record that I have ever worn out from playing too much. I'd actually heard this could happen, that if you played a record too many times, the needle would wear down the groove and it would start sounding bad. And that's what happened to my copy of Meat Puppets 2. Eventually I played it so many times that it sounded terrible, and I don't know, I don't remember. I eventually got it on CD, but It's a great album, and that song Plateau was covered by, very famously, Nirvana when Nirvana did their MTV Unplugged, and then they had the Meat Puppets on as their guest, and they did Plateau, and I'm like, oh, Kurt Cobain knew about that song too. Maybe he had the same reaction as I did to that album. It seems very likely because, of all the people he could have chosen to have as his special guests on MTV Unplugged, he chose the Meat Puppets. So yeah, that song was a big deal, especially the ending, that really psychedelic ending. So go look at my video. I shot the video when my wife and I went to what's the place called? Joshua Tree, California, out in the high desert, in the Mojave Desert, and I love Joshua Tree. It's a great place. And she helped me shoot some video there, and at Cabazon, the home of the dinosaurs, the big dinosaurs. I think they're in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I bought a t-shirt. So it was shot in those two places. The Zen connection with the Meat Puppets goes like this. Sometime, I think after the Meat Puppets 2 came out, I wrote a letter to the Meat Puppets. I think they had their address in the album. Somehow I had an address for them. I don't know, maybe I got it through whoever booked that show for Zero Defects. I don't know how I got their address, but I wrote a letter to the Meat Puppets, and I sent them a cassette tape of some of the music I was doing, which I thought was kind of similar. It was punk-ish, but it had these psychedelic and country influences too. And I don't know, probably at the time, being a person who didn't know how the music industry really worked, I thought maybe they could help me get a record deal with SST Records or something, I don't know. But I sent it to him, and I got a letter back from Derek Bostrom, the drummer of the Meat Puppets, and I really wish I'd kept that letter. I don't know where it went, but it indelibly etched in my mind one line from that letter, which was, "Sing in the voice God gave you." And at the time, I wasn't quite sure how to take that advice, but I thought it was really good advice. I don't know if he was trying to say that he listened to the tape and thought I wasn't singing in the voice God gave me, or if he was just trying to encourage me to continue singing in the voice God gave me. But I love that line, "Sing in the voice God gave you." And I really have, I've pondered that for years, and I think it does apply to the Zen thing. And I just watched yesterday a video by my friend Shozan Jack Haubner. I'll put it below because people ask me. And he has a YouTube channel called Zen Confidential. And I want to make sure I get the name of the video right. The name of the video is God. Is Buddhism good for nothing? I was about to say, is Zen good for nothing? I want to make sure I get the right. His title is Buddhism good for nothing? And in that video, near the end of the video, Shozan goes into this metaphor about trees. He's from Wisconsin, and he's back there visiting his family, and I guess he went to northern Wisconsin, and there are these kind of peculiar trees that grow up there off of rocks, and they're kind of twisted and weird looking because they cling to the rocks, and then they grow out of the rocks in weird angles to try to catch the sun. And he was talking about how our lives are like that, how our weird shape, we form a weird shape due to the various circumstances of our life, and sometimes we get too involved with that shape that we've taken and take it to be the real me, but that's not the real me, something like that. He says it better on his video. And it reminded me of a metaphor that I sometimes use, which is about puzzle pieces. Which is that I've said this before, so those of you who watch me often will have heard this. I think one of the ways to think about what a human being as an individual is like a puzzle piece. So a puzzle piece has to be a certain shape and a certain size and a certain color in order to complete the puzzle. So the puzzle piece's uniqueness makes it able to complete the puzzle, but ultimately that uniqueness is in service to its being able to complete the puzzle. And I'm sorry for, there's probably a lot of cuts in this video. I'm going to cut it later. But I keep coughing, and I realize I'm going to have to cut this video short because I can't talk. Because I thought my throat was better, but it's not. Anyway, our uniqueness is in service of completing the puzzle that is the world, that is humanity. So, in Buddhism, we sometimes have this idea of sort of trying to transcend the individual self. And a lot of people go wrong with that because they think it means negate the individual self, like destroy your individual self and become this thing that you think an enlightened being is. I'm sorry, I'm sucking on a Halls right now in order to get my throat to be able to finish this video. And what that ends up doing, if we want to extend my metaphor about puzzle pieces, is you're trying to be this perfectly round, perfectly beige puzzle piece. And yeah, that's real groovy and everything, but it doesn't fit the puzzle anymore. And so you're not doing your duty on that end. So you have to be the person that you are, but being the person you are is how you complete the puzzle, how you fit in with the rest of the overall puzzle that is mankind or humanity or whatever, or the universe. Yeah, and part of doing that is singing in the voice God gave you. And to me, what I decided singing in the voice God gave you meant is being true to what you really are. And I think one of the problems we have as Americans who really, really stress individuality is we go too far with that sometimes. So you have to kind of find that sweet spot of finding out who you really are without pushing who you really are onto the world and trying to make the world conform to you instead of you kind of fitting in with it. Yeah. So that's about all I can say because I'm physically unable to do much more on this video. Maybe I'll expand on it later when my throat's a little better and I can actually talk for 5 minutes at a pace without having a coughing fit. But if you want to contribute to me buying dextromethorphan or some cold medicines, you can go to the URL that you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. That's where you'll find my PayPal and Patreon accounts. And that's my main way of making a living. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. All right, I'm going to go back and lay down for a while. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Ziggy. How you doing? Want to go back inside? And Ziggy's been really nice to me since I've been sick. He seems to be very empathetic to people who are not feeling well. And he always comes and cuddles with me if I'm not feeling well. Let me go see if I can find FICO. Where did he go? There's FICO. Hey, FICO. 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 Look at the camera. All right, there's FICO. All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye.